Everyone and their mother wants to have cleaner, punchier, louder and overall better mix, right? To save your time diving into the rabbit hole of mixing tutorials, two things you need. Use your ears and reference tracks. There are plugins like Reference or Metric AB, which I can't recommend enough, but sometimes the more visuals you have, the less you focus on sound. That's why I gathered all the best tips, my own experience and last working brain cells to create this free Ableton Rack. I called it UU. See? Last working brain cells. Which stands for Ultimate Utility. Best feature? It solves the biggest issue in life when it comes to using reference tracks. But first, let me show you how it works. You need to put it at the end of your mastering chain after any sort of clipper, limiter or sausage fattener-like monstrosity. Everything here is pretty self-explanatory, and besides of the reference part, you don't need to tweak anything. But no worries, I'm gonna show you how to set it up once and forget about it. So first you have option to analyze mid-image of your mix, and obviously the side as well. If you wonder why there is no mono button, mid is pretty much its equivalent. Now it's time to unfuck your mix forever by listening to mid-range only. There is a fairly new and great video about it by legendary Seed to Stage. I encourage you to watch it from start to finish, after watching this one of course. No big spoilers here, but just remember, music is in mid-range, and those are just unmusical noises. Ain't gonna lie, I got pretty inspired by him to introduce some of his settings in this rack. For a good measure, you can work on subs and highs exclusively. But there is a catch. Even if you spend your childhood on Abbey Road mixing the Beatles, listening to those ranges for a long period of time will make it feel like overall mix is a little bit too muddy, or in this case, if I was just gonna listen to subs on and on for like 8 bars or more, now I feel the whole mix is a little bit too harsh. There is nothing much to do about it since that's how our ears work, and this is actually the ear fatigue everyone is talking about. And speaking of subs, that's why you have Spectrum here.
The more visuals you have, the less you focus on sound.
Yeah, I know, but it's too good to not include it here. Full credit goes to another Ableton legend, Mr. Bill. So once you have Spectrum in this range, it is as easy as ABAC to see the sub level and actually mix it properly. But everything here depends on your volume. So if you have a quieter track, you would actually need to make this range a little bit bigger, but then you can see other frequencies. Alright, it's easier to explain it with reference. So the biggest problem with reference tracks in live is routing. Once you drag it to your session and, for example, play it, even in solo, you can obviously hear it, but through all of the plugins you have on your master chain. A little workaround for that is to change output from main to external out. And obviously that allows us to play the original, but I can't analyze, for example, mid-image or side or basically anything, since it's going directly to my output. Not to brag or something, but I think I came up with the smartest solution for that. So once you get back to UU, I think I need to change that name at some point. Double click on this device and yeah, it's a compressor, but don't worry, it doesn't do anything to your sound. All you need to do is to change the sidechain input to the track with your reference. Now you can just double click again to hide it. That's the original. And that's the clean version of your reference. I can even turn off all of those plugins to not confuse you. Here is the original. And reference again. And as you can hear, every single adjustment here works.
Check.
Works.
Check.
Works.
Check.
Both for your reference track and obviously for your original. To not get through this routing process every single time, simply load a new live set, drag and drop UU to your main chain, then create a clean audio track where you're gonna drop your reference tracks, get back to Ultimate Utility, choose this track, in my case it's 24 reference, and now simply just save it as your default live set. But there are two things you need to tweak. First being the like button down below this video, yeah, click it right now, and the second one is level match. To have a clean and correct comparison between those two tracks, you need to have them at the same loudness level. Unfortunately, this rack ain't that smart as metric AB or reference, so you need to do this by ear with this knob. And I think that will do. Now going back to Spectrum, since I left you there, once you have your reference track loaded, now you can compare the sub level of those two tracks. So in my reference, subs are peaking at -9, and in my reference tracks, they are way higher, at -6. So basically all I'll need to do is to go to the subgroup, which includes all of my subs in this track, and then tweak the level of it a little bit down. Now it's actually a little bit too low. And I think that will do. Now you can make it the ultimatest, is that a word? More ultimate, by dragging something like Swiss Army meter into this rack. In the case you live in under the rack, Swiss Army meter is a Max for Life loudness measure tool, which basically can measure every single parameter you can imagine. Now listen, because it's crucial. This all is very useful, but don't fall into the trap of checking everything every 2 minutes. You need to focus on building your mix from the ground up first.